Well, hello people, and welcome to the Project Zomboid Noobs Guide. I hope you're having a wonderful day. This will be an episodic video series focusing on introducing new players to the world of Project Zomboid, one of my favourite zombie survival games and one of my most played games behind the Cities Skylines franchise. I absolutely adore this game, and with the recent additions in Build 42, including an entire map revamp, new skills, new items, and plenty more, I felt this the perfect time to properly introduce this game to my channel. This guide is certainly intended at the new or inexperienced player, and if you do have hours in Project Zomboid, you're likely to find this guide a little bit slow, but hang around anyway, and you might pick up some tips and tricks that you weren't previously aware of. I am using a small mod collection here, however this does not change the guide in any way. They are simple quality of life improvements, but rather than talking about them all now, I'll bring them up as they come across the gameplay and exactly what quality of life they're bringing to the experience. This guide will help you from dying within your first 5 minutes, to establishing a strong, secure base, and starting to explore many of the new skills added with Build 42, including blacksmithing and animal husbandry. And a quick shout out to our channel sponsor Instant Gaming. If you want to grab Project Zomboid, you can do so for a very cheap price down at the link below. That does help directly pay my mortgage, so thank you so much if you do end up using it. All those useful links that you need are in the video description, but otherwise, welcome to the Project Zomboid Noobs Guide, everyone. So as we arrive at the main menu here, the first thing you should do, as obvious as it sounds, is play the tutorial. It will introduce you to moving around the world and interacting with it, how to open windows, doors, climb over fences, etc. So the first thing to do, play the tutorial. Once you've done that and you arrive back at the main menu, it's time to come into a solo game. So this guide is going to focus on the canon Zomboid experience Apocalypse, but I would highly encourage you to explore the custom sandbox options. I am using a custom sandbox mod, so I can change these mods in the game, again, which is linked down below if you want that, just to tweak the experience to a few things that I prefer, such as dismantling items gives you XP. And as I come across a few pain points in the experience, I'll also address some of these custom sandbox settings, so you can decide whether or not you want to change a particular pain point that you're coming across. There's no right or wrong way to play Zomboid really, and you can make the sandbox as difficult or as easy as you like. And if this guide does well and you guys enjoy Project Zomboid content on the channel, maybe one day we'll consider an extinction run, which is a considerably more brutal experience, but we won't go into that in this series. For the purpose of this guide, I'm playing Apocalypse mode. This then brings us to the spawn screen where we have a few options available to us. Now Build 42, the map has had a whole new rework, like really breathtaking. I won't go too much into that here, but check out the patch notes and some of the other Zomboid videos. The glow up is absolutely incredible. I'm going to be starting in Rosewood. I would also recommend Riverside for a new player, whilst trying to avoid West Point in particular and Mordra, as they are significantly busier towns on the map, and as a new player, you're probably going to struggle. But that doesn't mean Riverside or Rosewood are particularly easier, especially after the glow up. So I'm going to spawn in Rosewood. Now there are other towns on the map that you'll notice here. Ekron, Echo Creek and Irvington. You can spawn into these if you're playing via the custom sandbox option on the previous screen. For Apocalypse mode, just the 4 original towns are available. So I want to come into Rosewood. So this will drop us off at the occupation and trait screen. So to break this screen down, we have occupations on the left. These provide a variety of skill buffs and XP gain buffs as well. Positive traits in the green, negative in the red, your chosen traits, and then everything down here, which corresponds to the professions. As you choose different ones, these will change. Now some of these professions are really good. For example, the burglar comes with a trait where you can automatically hotwire cars. Without that, you need level 2 mechanics and level 1 electrical. So there's some really nice jobs to take here. If you like, lumberjack is also another good one. I'd encourage you again to explore these professions, and also a note here on role-playing. For example, choosing a police officer and only basing up in police stations can be a fun way to change up the gameplay if you find it getting a little bit stale. Same thing with a firefighter, etc. So there's some roleplay to be had here. For the purpose of this guide, I'm going to go with a custom occupation because I want as many points to spend as I possibly can here. So first of all, let's choose our negative traits. Now I could probably make a whole separate video and tier list on all the different traits, but I'll run over some of them. I'm going to grab Clumsy, which makes more noise when moving. We're going to end up doing a lot of fighting anyway, and the stealth system is still viable with this trait in place. We're also going to go for High Thirst, which gives us the need to drink more water. Water is plentiful even when it gets turned off, but we'll cover that later on in the guide. I'm also going to go for Slow Reader, which will make it take a little longer for me to read books, but as we're in single player we can fast forward time so we can negate the debuff that this gives us. I'm also going to choose weak stomach. Now a note to the weak stomach trait, if you eat anything rotten, your character is dead. So really important that you don't eat anything rotten. If you eat it without this trait, it'll just make you sick. But with weak stomach, it'll kill you, so don't eat it. I'm also going to take slow healer. Again, this one can be a bit of a double-edged sword. You do get 3 points for it. But if you get a really bad injury, for example, I've fractured my shin before falling off a staircase, and it took a good full month for the wound to recover with slow healer on. Regular cuts and bruises will still heal within a sensible amount of time, but bone breaks with this trait can be run ending, so be careful with it. I'm also going to choose conspicuous, which will make us more likely to be spotted by zombies. Again, I can still stealth around, and we're going to do a lot of fighting anyway, so some extra zombies seeing me isn't really a downside. I'm also going to choose prone to illness, which gives us a faster rate of zombification. And then finally, I'm going to also choose thin-skinned, which is a higher chance of being scratched or bitten by zombies. But again, we can negate a lot of this by just wearing appropriate protection and not putting ourselves in situations where we're going to be scratched or bitten by zombies. This now gives us 35 points to spend in the positive trait pool. And the 2 most important ones I'm going to go for are athletic and strong. So what this is going to do for us, it's going to give us +4 fitness, which is taking us up to level 9, and also increasing our stamina as well. We can run for longer without tiring. And then strong is going to give us extra knockback from melee weapons and increased carry weight. So fitness and strength are 2 of the most, I would say, probably annoying skills to train. You really have to go out of your way to train them, and it knackers your character. And whilst the XP gains from the professions can be really useful, again, I would encourage you to explore them. I can still get skill buffs for those skills from magazines. But for me, fitness and strength are just the 2 best ones to go for. Purely for the extra stamina, and also extra melee damage and increased carry weight being a permanent buff for your character for the whole run. So I tend to go for these 2. I'm also going to choose fast learner for increased XP gains. That's going to make all of our grinds a lot faster. I'm also choosing cat's eyes, which gives us better visibility at night. With build 42, the lighting system has been entirely reworked, so nighttime is very dark now. And darkness is a real threat to your character, so eliminating that is going to be helpful. This is going to leave us with 6 points. I'm going to grab organized for 4 points, which is going to increase our container inventory capacity. There's a lot of inventory organization in this game. Further to that point, I'm also going to grab dexterous, which is going to transfer items quicker, alongside give us less chance of falling, increased weapon shouldering time, and a faster rope climbing speed, which drops us off at exactly 0 points. So that's my build for the 42 Noobs guide here. You absolutely do not have to follow this to the letter. In fact, I would encourage you not to. Explore some of the professions, some of the other more themed traits if you want to try perhaps a more survivalist run, living off the land, off things like Angler, Herbalist, Outdoorsy. There really is so much potential here, so play it as you like, essentially. And this then takes us to our character curator. I just prefer to hit random until I find a name that I like. We got Ronnie Swanson, so sure, let's go with that, shall we? Again, you can save your character here if you like, but once you're happy with how they look, we can hit play and get started. So before the game starts up, there are a few questions I see arising amongst new players in Project Zomboid, and one of those is, what is our immediate goal in the game? There is no real end game to Zomboid. It's essentially a game of zombie sims to survive as long as you possibly can, using the various mechanics at play. There are 3 main threats, if you like, in the early game. First 2 are related to the utilities. Within the first 30 days, at any point, it could be day 2 or it could be day 29. But at some point, both the power and the water are going to turn off. Water isn't really a threat. It's very easy to make rain collectors, which will replace the plumbing in the sinks in your base. And there are an enormous amount of sinks across the map, so you're never going to die of hydration in Zomboid. But to be aware, at some point, your taps will stop working. The second more pressing utility is the power going out. And you'll hear this because it will sound like a big power generator shutting down, and all of your electrics will turn off. We need the electric to help store food and keep the lights on without stating the obvious. And we do this by finding a generator. In particular, we need 2, one for the base and one for the fuel station. The generators all run off of gasoline. Once you've found the generators, you also need to know how to use them. There are 2 ways you can do this, either by finding the magazine out in the world called How to Use Generators, or reaching level 3 electrical, in which case you will automatically learn the recipe for maintaining the generators. And the third and final immediate threat in apocalypse mode is the helicopter. At some point, usually within your first 8 days, a helicopter will fly overhead. If this happens and you're inside, stay inside and stay away from the windows and wait for it to pass. As the helicopter moves overhead, it will pull a lot of zombies toward it. If the helicopter sees you and you're outside, it will follow you, meaning the zombies are also going to follow you as well. So if you're outside when this helicopter arrives, just move away from your base, don't drag the horde toward it, because you're not going to have the weapons to deal with that many zombies in the early game. So those are our immediate, early to mid-game goals. Prepare rain collectors, gather 2 generators and the means to use them, and be aware of the helicopter event. Other than that, let's start surviving our first couple of days, shall we? So we spawn into our Project Zomboid world. Now the first things we want to find are a bag and a weapon, and also something to drink from as well. So all the containers around it, you should be pretty familiar with this from the tutorial. We just want to start scanning what's in our starter house here. Got a couple of books. Carpentry level 3 is quite nice, a little bit useless to us yet. And the skill books are going to give us XP multipliers for certain sets of levels. So book 3 applies to levels 5 to 6, which we're obviously not near just yet. We're also on the lookout for better protective clothing as well. We do have some gloves here, I suppose we'll take those. Yeah, unfortunately fingerless. Otherwise it's looking like a pretty weak starter house. There's a lot of variants that can happen in Zomboid, so don't worry about following the guide. You're going to find different things. Worse things, better things in some instances. It's all quite random. So absolutely nothing in the starter home. Really terrible. What we want to do here is come up to a window, and we can actually remove the curtain. This is going to give us a sheet in our inventory for which we can craft a sheet sling bag. And you'll notice as we wear this on our back, we get another inventory slot here, a bag that can hold 13 for us. Now we also want a watch as well, because you'll notice that the TV is playing in the background. Now 3 times a day at 6 AM, 12 PM and 6 PM, there's going to be shows on that give us XP called Life and Living TV. It's worth catching the 12 PM one because it's carpentry XP, which is really useful in the early game. But it's not always possible to be near a TV. But we've actually got a cooking show here as well. So we'll fast forward time. Time controls up here on the top. I have 2 times speed mapped to a button on my mouse, so I can just click it without having to come up here. We'll talk about why that's useful as we move around the world. The fast forward time. Wonderful. You'll come to love that sound. And then that should be it. And we've got some zombies at our door. Wonderful. Cool. So let's come out to greet these guys. Come out of our house and just get a little sense of where we are. Of course, this is a redesigned Rosewood, so I'm not totally familiar with every area of it yet. I think we're in the centre. Yeah, by the school, actually. So let's come and find these people trying to attack us. And we'll just come over. Now, we got 2. So we just want to keep pushing them until they fall over, right? Now when we stand on top of a zombie, likewise, if it's another zombie stood on top of a zombie, they can't get back up. So you really want to utilise that, especially when we don't have a weapon. Push them over, and then stamp them out. We have a digital watch, which is what we want. Now we want a digital one in particular, because it tells us the temperature and the date alongside the time, where a regular watch will just tell you the time, okay? We're searching all local containers, just trying to find something to hit someone with. There's a bottle we can use for our water. That's one of the things we want. It looks like this guy's got something stuck in his shoulder. So we'll take him out as well. So it'll take you a while, I think, to get used to the Zomboid system. It can be quite jarring at first, the combat, and you'll lose a load of characters to it. So for the first few days, as we come out of our starter house, we just want to focus on giving ourselves a safe space to sleep. So clearing this initial area, alright? Now we just picked up a screwdriver, which doesn't make the best weapon, but that's all we've got for right now. I'll take this guy out. You'll notice I attached that to my belt as well. Sorry, I glossed over that. just so it appears down here on the hotkeys. We can expand this hotkey belt with equipment such as holsters and shoulder holsters as well for equipping more things to your body. But we'll naturally find them as we begin to loot. Take out this next lady. Perfect. So we're going to keep crouch for the most time, just so we don't draw a lot of attention to ourselves. As we start to approach our first house here. Again, also being wary that we'd like to be near a TV at 12 o'clock if we can help it. Just trying to open some windows. Doesn't look like these are going to open. Let's deal with this guy approaching us. And so if we push him over and stamp on him instead, we're not going to use our weapon durability, and it actually costs less stamina as well than swinging your weapon. So we can't get into these windows, but the front door is open, so it doesn't matter, does it? And then we'll just get rid of her. Now we did just pick up a key to a residence off that first zombie we killed, so this could be to this house. And we'll find out. So just a quick point here, in terms of what to pick up, there is a absolutely vast amount of items in the Zomboid world, and as a new player, it can be really intimidating to think, well, what do I need? You know, what's useful and what isn't? As a general rule of thumb, most materials such as nails, screws, twine are going to be used in a lot of crafting recipes, so grab most materials. And with the tools, you want at least one of every tool, especially masons, chisels, and trowels, as they're going to be useful for working toward the eventual blacksmithing skill to set up the advanced forge, which has quite the process to get there, but as long as this character survives, of course, I'll show you how to get there in this guide. So as a general rule of thumb, pick up at least one of every tool and most materials that you come across. This way, you're going to be well stocked for when you actually get to crafting, okay? Again, we got a kitchen knife here. Let's equip that in our primary. It's a little bit better than the screwdriver. And we'll also fill that bottle up at the sink as well. Right clicking on any sink here. And by the way, further to the point at the start of the video, you can tell when your water has gone off. Because when you come to drink here, it won't say unlimited. It'll say 20 litres or however much that particular water source can hold, right? We've got some food on the table here. I'm going to take that. In fact, we can probably make a peanut butter sandwich here. Let's deal with this guy out front first then. Knife will do a little bit more damage. Now to also touch on the first mod I'm using here. Up here in the top right, you'll see my XPs being tracked per level and how much XP. This is called the RuneScape XP mod. Any fellow RuneScape players will know the dopamine that this brings. The other way to check how far your skills are along is to come into your health menu over here, hit skills, and then hover over that particular skill. So I've been using short blade here, but I have to come all the way into that. So this mod just gives you a visual indicator of how much XP and what level you're on. It's a really nice quality of life. Definitely recommend grabbing it. It's linked in the video description if you're interested. But we'll just check these zombies again. Nothing really important to us. They do have better protective clothes, but they're covered in holes. We'll hopefully find some in this house here. There we go. Right, so let's come back in. And then just continue to move through the first house. See if we can also find bandages or rags at some point too. Yeah, let's do that outside actually. So, coming to our zombie, if we come into our crafting menu, we can rip clothing that's actually down on the zombies there. I'm going to do this. This is going to generate rags for us, which are used in quite a lot of different crafting recipes, but what I'm utilising them for at the start is bandages, should we get an injury. Or scratch ourselves on glass or something, we can heal the wound. Again, it's pretty quiet in here, there's nothing amazing. There can be quite good loot in houses. It looks like we've also got a little side garage here too. We've got a comic book. You can hold shift on these inventory screens, which will scroll through them for you. Shift and scroll will do that rather than having to keep clicking on each box here. That's really good, actually. A jack mechanics level 1, which will boost our XP multipliers for the first 2 levels of mechanics, and a tire pump. And that's going to give us access to training the mechanics skill. We need a few more tools for that yet, but a jack is really nice. That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. We got a sledgehammer, and they are exceedingly rare. And that's kind of wild. Honestly, what the hell? YouTuber look, right? My word. There's also a hammer here as well. There's multiple types of hammer, including ball peens, which are used for the blacksmithing skill, but get both. That's insane. I can't believe we found a sledgehammer here. I'm going to leave it there right now. It's not a good weapon. It's too heavy for a weapon. But it does allow you to do an awful lot of stuff. Very cool. Okay, so we also want a saw. You kind of want to collect a base level of tools, so a hammer, a saw, and we won't need a gardening trowel yet. A metalworking chisel, I'm going to take it whilst I've come across one. They are fairly common. Oh my god, there's also a generator here. What? Right, major YouTuber look. A sledgehammer and a generator in the starting house. That's genuinely the best start I've ever had in Project Zomboid. I imagine the comment section is going to be quite funny to read after you guys make it to this point in the video. So our knife just broke. And these big tall wire fences here, the zombies can't get over. However, they can break them down should they gather enough in number, so it is something to be wary of. Likewise with the screwdriver, I'm also attaching the hammer to my belt as well. And then in terms of houses we can clear out here, so again, based on the start of the video, I've ticked off one of the major goals already there. We have half of the generators required. And this house does have a basement though, so let's begin to check this out. Which is open, thankfully. The basements are new in build 42 and can house some really cool things. A welding torch is going to give us access to the welding skill, but again, it's going to be a while before we get there, and they're fairly common as well. I'm going to equip the steel rod as my new weapon. And the punch and chisel set, this is blacksmithing stuff here. I'm going to take the file again. One of each tool is a good barometer to go for when you're starting to loot for the first time. Okay. So it's about to be 12 o'clock. Let's head inside. And I think we're going to make this our safe location, right? We've got a basement here. There's a nice garage outside for mechanics work. This is a good starter house here. So let's turn on the TV. We want to turn the volume down. It will attract zombies. I tend to go for volume 2. Tune into life and living. And indeed we can take a seat if we like and rest up. So I'll put up on screen the schedule for the life and living XP programs if you want to stop and get them. It's just little doses of XP, a few XP ticks if you happen to catch one. Again, 6, 12 and 12. There's a few other random times on certain days that there's shows as well. But if you're near a TV, they're certainly worth catching. Now, to also discuss this a bit further, in the sandbox options, this is the mod I spoke about at the start of the video, so we can change them in-game. If you come to, I think it's meta. No, I think it's character, isn't it? Here, there is a maximum dismantling XP level. I'm going to change this to 10. This just means that you get carpentry XP for dismantling wooden things. They changed this in build 42 for some reason to make it not give you XP. And for the 2, this point here, the maximum media level XP is referring to the VHS tapes and the life and living stuff. And it will only take you up to level 3. Again, you can change that if you want, but I'm not going to. Hit apply changes. You actually need to log in and out, like quit in and out the save for those changes to take effect, just for the record. But it's the useful of that mod. You can just tweak the experience slightly based on what you want. Highly recommended. That's carpentry levels. Perfect. So carpentry is definitely one of the more important skills. So to start securing our base, I'm going to close the windows. You can do this by right-clicking and then close curtains, or you can just simply left-click the curtain itself, and it'll close. That one's already shut. Got some in the bedroom here as well. You can also close them via Shift and E as well. Sweet, so we've got a nice little bedroom here. This is going to be a great little starter base for us. So to secure the base, we also want to start putting planks on the windows, and there'll be a few places we start coming across planks, I imagine. But we'll come across them naturally as we explore. Again, really, day one, just want to secure our initial surroundings. Make sure we come across some food as well, but we did find that bread and peanut butter in the house earlier. Now with fighting, I can find fighting at certain orientations in this isometric perspective to be sometimes quite disorientating, which has lost me a lot of characters. So I tend to prefer to fight left to right or right to left rather than at this angle or this angle, because it can just, maybe it's just my brain, it just distorts it sometimes and makes it a little confusing. So also the mailboxes you'll notice along the road, they're worth checking. Sometimes they can have magazines in them. So we've spawned next to a school, which is a really good start actually, because there's going to be a lot of skill books in there, but I want better weapons to take on building like that. You tend to find the larger buildings across the towns, the schools, the main shops are significantly busier. We've only got a steel rod right now, which I'm actually going to attach to my back. So that now pops it into the one hotkey, you'll notice. I'm going to carry on walking around here. We've got a big complex. There's an industrial garage looking thing behind there, so we'll probably find some decent tools in there we can use. Also check out these cars while we're here. It is locked. We can come into the vehicle. And it's locked again. So if we're near a vehicle and we hold V, it will bring up the vehicle radio menu. Here we can just smash the window and then get into it. And then just like with any other container, we can just scroll through and see what's on the passenger seats. Nothing outstanding. There's a bandage. That's useful. Yeah. So not great. We can also get back in, hold V again to switch seats, and then we can move to the driver's seat. Where down on the dashboard here, we can unlock the doors and also the trunk, so we can loot them as well. There's a lot of dead rats in here for some reason. And a tire pump is useful. We did have one in the base, but I'll take it anyway. Wire, again, is another fairly common crafting material, so I'm going to take it. Got a nice little army-looking van here, but these have been in a car wreck, so they're probably in very poor condition. Oh, this is a great example, actually. I didn't even need to smash the window. We found a key on the floor, so if you ever find a car, there's a very small chance of the key being on the floor around it. So we have a vehicle key here. I just smashed the window, even though I had the key, so don't do that. And again, we can check this. We'll take a bottle opener, sure. And open the trunk and the doors. And we can see what's in the boot of this. A lot of beer. This guy's probably a drink driver, which is why he's crashed. But he does have some useful tools for us. A much better conditioned screwdriver. And a ratchet wrench as well, which again is going to give us access to the mechanics skill. So this would be a really nice vehicle to take, actually. But as we come to inspect it, yeah, it's in horrific condition. 14% overall, and every element of the vehicle is destroyed, essentially, which is such a shame. Does it start? Does it even have fuel? Because we do have the key, so we can try and start it. Otherwise, to hotwire vehicles, you need level 2 mechanics and level 1 electrical. If you see a vehicle out there that you see. So we're starting to come in some denser populations now. Let's take this smartly. Let's just start pulling one or two at a time toward us than all of them. Because again, our character will get panicked. So we want to make sure we don't overwhelm him. Old Ronnie Swanson. I can't believe the start we've had. Our character was called Ron Swanson. We found a sledgehammer and a generator in the starting house. And a vehicle to a somewhat damaged, well, a key to a damaged vehicle at least. Generally one of the most insane starts I've ever had. And it would be when I start recording Zomboid, wouldn't it? So again, just nice and easy. Every time I kill a zombie as well, I like to do a 360 spin. A little 360 no-scope action. And just make sure we've got no one coming up behind us. And here we'll check the letterbox. We've got a few here. Let's open the gate. Now thankfully these guys are going to get stuck on the fence. But they're not all going to come at us at once. Now if you find the fighting one-on-one to be a little bit difficult, back in the sandbox settings, I think it's in the meta. You can change it to multi-hit, which means you can hit up to 3 zombies with one swing. It does make the fighting quite a bit easier. But if you're having trouble with it, it's definitely worth considering multi-hit. Just to also touch on a setting, if we come into our user interface, under the cursor section, there is a melee target outline. If you click this, and then we come into them, you see how they have a little outline around them, just so it helps you identify which zombie it is you're actually targeting. Can be quite useful, again, if you find yourself struggling with the combat in the game. So you'll notice a few moodlets up in the top here. This is where the game really takes on its title of zombie sims. We have peckish, bad smell, and alarmed. Alarmed for obvious reasons. Bad smell is because we're around bodies. Now there's a mechanic in the game called corpse sickness, which is a gradual loss of health depending on how many dead bodies you are around. It can be mitigated with gas masks and respirators. You'll find them around the world, and that's what they're used for. So when you're killing vast amounts of zombies, you really want to be wary of where it is that you're actually killing them. So approaching the house here, a zombie did just come out and give us a bit of a jump scare. So this can be a good chance to actually explain the usefulness of shouting. So we'll come into our house and just press Q, which will shout. Now, if there's anyone in here, they're going to be alerted to that. They'll either start banging on doors or coming toward us, okay? Now, noise can be useful for that instance. Rather than walking through a house stealthily, where there might be a zombie sat around the corner, just giving a little shout once you're inside. Again, use with caution, because if there's vast hordes nearby, they're going to come to you. But just for exploring our starter homes here, it's useful. And we found, I'm going to shut the door behind me, and we found a recipe resource here for Welder Monthly, a magazine. I'm going to read this. And fast forward time. It's going to teach us some metalworking recipes, which we won't need for a very long time yet. Now this window here has just been broken. And looks like we've got a little friend outside. Let's go and get rid of her. And I'm probably being a little bit too risky here, but it's a good idea to keep checking your corners. Because sometimes they can even be hidden in a tree, you know, so you think it's clear. And then it's not. You'll lose loads of characters to essentially not paying attention or being overconfident. Overconfident's a massive killer in this game. More of the same. We just want to keep looting here. Trying to find a base material. Let's go ahead and fill up our bottle again too. They'll auto drink from that. We're also hungry as well now. So let's find a kitchen surface, or any surface will do. We'll make ourselves our first meal. So we'll slice the bread, which will give us maybe some cooking XP. Not sure if it will actually. Yeah, tiny little bit. Now here to discuss another mod I have installed. It's called Auto Cook. So the other way to cook is to create sandwich. So we just have to keep clicking on the sandwich itself once it comes back into our inventory. And then adding things to it. It's quite irritating. Mechanics works the same way. But if you right click and click auto cook sandwich, it will put everything possible into the sandwich. So we'll see what he makes. He actually used a sausage from the fridge there. So you see it says dangerous uncooked. Again, because we have a weak stomach trait, we don't want to be eating any raw food. It will kill you. So we'll cook that sandwich by coming over to a cooker, turning it on in the bottom right here. And then as it begins to heat up, it will start to cook for us. There we go, fresh grilled. Perfect, nearly burnt it actually. And then we can eat that sandwich. So that's the auto cook mod. Again, it doesn't really affect the guide. If you want to sit there clicking every individual ingredient to go into your sandwich, you can. But the auto cook mod will just throw everything nearby into a sandwich. That tastes good. We're also finding a lot of kitchen equipment here, which we will want eventually. I might just take the griddle pan here now. But things like whisks and pizza cutters will be used for very specific cooking recipes. I would also like a can opener too, for opening things such as canned peas. And we'll also check the fridge. And try to prioritize eating your fresh food beforehand as well. I'm going to take some fresh food with me from this house. And we'll carry on walking through. Baseball bat is a fantastic find. Let's attach that to our back. That's definitely going to be our new primary weapon. There's a key residence here, but there's no basement in this house, so the doors are already unlocked for us anyway, because we're inside now. And I'm going to take a few sheets, just in case I need to cover some more windows. It's always better to have them and not need them than need them and not have them. Strangely enough, we can't actually get through to the other side. Well, I guess it's a different house, is it? Yeah, I suppose it is, isn't it? And we've also got a little bit of a study library here as well. Let's check this out. Hopefully we'll find a skill book soon. We're 2 hours away from the next Life and Living show as well, so just keeping that in the forefront of your mind for that early XP. Let's say it was a little bit of grind time in the long run. Look at this house, the door is locked. If we can get in via the window. Yes, we can. Now, when you open a door or window, there's always a chance that a house is going to be alarmed, which draws from a really wide distance. So if you're unequipped for large crowds, you want to get away pretty quickly if you hear an alarm going off. Grabbing some painkillers and alcohol wipes, basic first aid supplies. A lot of the loot is fairly common sense in Zomboid, to be fair. Reusables like twine, nails, threads are all things you want to be picking up. And we'll check the bodies if they've got anything interesting. Nothing really for me. We'll take a lighter for sure. I tend to pick up all the lighters I find because they're used for lighting fires, obviously, and Molotovs and whatnot, so always good to have one on hand. But two pretty small houses here. We've walked out with some decent loot. We're now over encumbered, you'll notice, because we're above our 18 carry capacity. My carry capacity might be higher than yours if you didn't go with the strong trait, if you're wondering. That's why I prefer those early strength buffs, because it gives us the ability to loot a little bit more. And we've also found a satchel here as well. This is very good. And we can wear this as another bag. You see we have this one here now. I'm going to drop the book, but I'm going to keep the scissors again because they're a fairly useful tool, especially in the tailoring skill tree. You're going to want some scissors. So this little warehouse has a basement, but it doesn't look like we can actually get into it. Yeah, there's no external window. So we can break these doors down. It's going to take me ages with the baseball bat, so it's better to come back here with an axe. Ideally a wood axe or a firefighter's axe. But we need to get in here, okay? So we'll come back and get into that place at another point. Same with the basement down below it as well. Do we have any... Yeah, there's a tool shed in the house next door here. So we've probably got enough time. Yeah, because we'll be able to watch the show in the next house anyway. So this is what our first day is about. Just exploring. Securing the local area. See, some more Zeds have appeared over here now. Zombie respawning is off in apocalypse mode. It's on in extinction. So if you see zombies coming back to places you've previously cleared, it's just because of their migration mechanic, where they'll redistribute around the cell, which is the unit of which the map is broken up to, kind of like Minecraft chunks almost. If you're familiar with such a system, they will gradually redistribute around it, which functions as migration, essentially. Also, they're not respawning, not in apocalypse mode. Check these guys out. You can notice how I'm stood on the one on the floor. But he can't get back up now. Perfect. Once we hear the skull crack, we know they're done. Can hear another one coming. I really want to get some better clothes as well. We're in shorts and t-shirt at the minute. Which will be giving us terrible protection. Which can be checked back in your character menu. There's a tab for protection here. We have essentially 0 across most of our body. The fire truck is a really nice find. Unfortunately, no car key. Yeah, which is a real shame. But maybe we can get something from the boot. A rubber hose is used for siphoning gasoline. Rope is used for leading animals, so I'm going to take that. We will want a bucket eventually, not for a long while yet though, but I've come across one, so I'll get it. And we'll take the rubbing alcohol as well. I was hoping for an axe from that. That would have been very nice. But again, we'll come up to the hood and actually have a look what we've got going for us. But yeah, this is 98% condition car, pretty much perfect, and it's just out of gas and no key. So that's really nice. That's really good. We'll definitely come back for that, even though we're going to be living nearby anyway, so we'll certainly grab it at some point. Into the next house. Looks like there's been a little bit of a party going on here with plastic cups and dog chew toys. Let's can eat some of the fresh produce as well. I tend to just speed up my time when I'm eating, just moves through the action a little bit quicker. Again, I'm going to take a red marker pen because I want to be able to draw on my map. So by pressing M, we can open up the world map. And now we can just draw in some icons. So this house here is going to be my base, okay? And in terms of keeping track of the map, I like to tick off the buildings I've been into and search. So these two homes here have both been done. And we want to come back here with an axe. So I'm going to place that one on there as well. And gradually as you explore the vast map of Knox County in this game, you'll, I think, get quite close with the map. It's quite fun to kind of doodle on it, as if it is an actual survivor's map. Over here, there's the other type of hammer we want, club hammer. A large knife is really dull and damaged, but we can make use of it. And with the rakes, I like to dismantle them, because we can use the rake heads in a better weapon. So if we come to our rake heads, we should have them here. We are getting quite overloaded now, so something we want to bear in mind. Yes, it's make the rake head spiked weapon at carpentry level 4. Really good weapon, super easy to use, and quite easy to craft as well. We'll drop the long sticks, put the rake heads in the satchel, which is going to reduce our primary weight. Put some of the rags away as well, just a little bit of inventory management. We're holding some things we don't really need here. Sweet, yeah, that'll be good. We found a fishing rod, net, and line here with more hooks in the toolbox. We won't be doing any fishing just yet, but that's a really good find. Again, it's local to my base, so I'll come back and grab that on another, on the way back out of this house here. Let's grab some actual pants. Not come across a vast amount of clothes just yet, unfortunately. Things that you think would be protective, like hoodies and stuff, usually are. Leather jackets being one of the better items you can find. Sweet, so not too much in this one. You will find a lot of generic, kind of boring residential loot in those homes. But there are some gems to be had. It doesn't mean it's not worth looting generic house buildings, because, again, the basements you can find in them can be very impressive. This is also locked as well. So that's a real shame. We could try bash one of them down. We've also got more houses to loot over that way as well. But we're actually missing the Life and Living episode. Let's run back in and grab it while we're very close to a TV. There we go, I think we might. Is it going to tune in? Or did we miss it already? Yeah, maybe we did. Yeah, it's not playing for us, is it? That's fine. Okay, well, let's bring an end to this first loot one then. I'm going to take these fishing stuff back with me. I've got a screwdriver now, and I'll take vice grips. Bolt cutters aren't actually used as bolt cutters yet. I don't think they've implemented the functionality. But they're a big, heavy two-handed weapon. I've not really got the carry capacity for them at the minute, so I'm going to leave them there, but it is another weapon alternative if you want one. And then we'll head home, clearing back on our way. So being over-encumbered can be really dangerous, especially if you get caught with heavy furniture. So if you're planning to go, I'd say, over 30 encumbrance, you want to make sure the area around you is pretty clear. It'll also really begin to tire your character as well. Grab this guy. So you noticed I moved really quickly then. I'll run over what that is. The much easier way to move around the map. So if we right click and hit walk to, our character will go to the tile. Now if you hit the 2x speed button, walk at 2x speed. Now I have that mapped again to one of my mouse buttons, so I can just walk around really quickly without having to sprint and wasting up precious energy and calories and resources and whatnot. Wonderful. So our doors do not have a sheet, so I'm going to right click and add one of the sheets to the inventory and shift and E to close, and the same again on the back door. Oh, I opened it by accident, and then shift and E to close. Okay, so now the zombies can't see us from the outside, which is very important, but they can still hear us, so it can be useful to move around squatted or in stealth mode around the base. Let's put some of our fresh food in the fridge. Again, fridge and freezer are separated into 2 separate containers here. I think that's most of the food loot we got, wasn't it? I'm going to keep that on me because I'm eating that at the minute. The canned peas we can just pop into a cupboard. So we don't have a lot of storage containers here yet, but we do, of course, have the little outdoor garage area, which I think is where I'm going to keep a lot of my industrial loot, if you like. I wouldn't mind a few more of these shelves to begin organising things, perhaps. Especially into the garage space here. Could be quite a lot of fun, that. So I think that's what I'll do. Base organisation is one of my favourite parts about the game. So let's drop the toolbox that we picked up. I'm going to keep the first aid on me, for obvious reasons. The steel rod vice grips can all go on the floor. With the screwdrivers, I'm going to attach the one that's better condition to the left belt, and then also the hammer, which is very nearly worn as well. But if you right click it and come into favorite, it'll get a little star on it, and this means you can't remove it from your inventory. You can't accidentally drop it. I tend to do this with a few things, including the water bottle, so I don't accidentally remove them out of my inventory, because I tend to keep a hammer, saw and screwdriver on me at all times at least. Same with the hammer again, but that one's about to break, so not too much worries on that one. And all this stuff we got, I'm going to also favorite the marker again, so I can always draw on my map. But everything else can just go on the floor for right now. Until we come across another couple of shelving units, so we begin to store all this stuff that we're bringing home. And then the kitchen cooking stuff will go in the kitchen, of course. Favorite the wood saw. So in terms of leaving things on the floor, if you start to do it everywhere in hundreds and hundreds of quantities, you can start to cause a bit of lag or map lag. So it's a point to note, don't do it everywhere, but for your own local base you'll be fine. It's just not something you want to do across the map, really. So when we find a skill book, you want to right click it and set it to unwanted. So this means that all instances of this item have been flagged as unwanted. So when we come to find another copy of Mechanics 1, we know that we already have it back at home. It makes looting skill books a lot easier because there's a lot of them, and once you've collected a good chunk of them, you'll come across more of them and think, well, do I have this? So once you see them, make them unwanted, because it grays it out and makes it a lot easier, right? Definitely worth doing that. I will take that. We'll take everything from here, I think. We'll do a little bit of base organisation in there towards our evening close. I'm going to use all of these storage containers here. We don't need those glass bottles, we'll end up throwing them in the bin. And again, just back in here and drop all that stuff we just got. Super. And then we just have some things to put in the kitchen. So I'd also really advise into base decoration. You can place a lot of these props around, or a lot of the items, and by right clicking and using the place function. And base decoration is something that really makes, I think, you feel more attached to your base. So I really recommend it. All the first aid stuff I'm going to keep in the satchel. And then the kitchen stuff, the bread knife, griddle pan and bottle opener can go in here. I'm also going to favourite the can opener as well. There we go. So there's our current inventory. We've got some food. I'm going to auto cook a couple more sandwiches. See what he makes here. He's going to make another sausage and cabbage sandwich, is he? Yeah, dangerous uncooked. And really keep an eye out for that. There's actually a fresh beef patty. and roasting and baking trays again, which we can cook with. We can just make a roast, but let's make sure we cook this sandwich. Just want to really hammer home that point with the weak stomach trait. This is a death sentence. It's so easy to lose a character. If you do actually accidentally start eating something, you can press escape, which will cancel an action. Again, really worth knowing that, because I've lost a few characters to the weak stomach trait by accidentally eating burnt, rotten, or uncooked food. It's not fun. And the night is going to be drawing in soon now, so I think we'll spend the rest of our first day at home. We've actually got a corpse in the house, which I'm not really happy with. So we can grab these by right-clicking. And then we'll drag them out. Again, you can right-click and use the walk function here, and then fast-forward 2 speed to do it quicker. And if you just sprint, they'll drop them. Get rid of the body. And we can clean up the blood with a bucket of water and a mop, but we don't have that just yet. And then we'll rest on our couch. And then we can see out the rest of our first day by beginning to read Mechanics 1. Now, bearing in mind, I did also take the slow reader trait, so my progress bar here in this instance for reading the 220 pages of the book is going to be a little bit slower, and as the books move up in volume, they also increase in length quite a bit as well. But I think now I'm just going to fast forward on 3 speed time. That's going to slowly tick up. And then we'll wait until we start to get our tired moodlets, which we might actually not. I think we'll probably get an early night, because again, I want to be up for 6 AM to catch that first show. And we can also set alarms as well using the watch if we want to do that. So we can set alarm, and I'm going to make that 6 AM so I can catch that first show. Perfect. We're also hungry as well now, so this is where the game really starts to play like Sims. Like, tell me you're not playing The Sims here, right? It's like a modern apocalyptic Sims 1, almost. It's such a cool game, honestly. If you're brand new to Zomboid, it's probably my favourite second franchise behind the Cities Skylines and Total War games. Just such a good experience. Let's eat one of our fruit jam sandwiches, which hasn't filled us up, so I'm going to eat the beef patty as well. That was conveniently in the cooker. And then I'm also going to fill the water bottle. And that, everyone, is good night Vienna and the end of our first day. We want to come and sleep. And then I'll see you guys in day 2.